Welcome back, everybody, to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM-1220 KHTS. We're with you every Friday at 2 o'clock. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your schoolmates.
Tell everybody you want to know. All right, Doug.
Thanks, Peter. I really like a microphone every once in a while. I know, we talked about this. All right, I'm taking over the show, Doug. I'm doing something a little different.
It's not soccer, is it?
No, we're not going to talk soccer,
Okay.
although we probably could talk soccer. I got a friend who has a professional wrestling podcast. Isn't that right, Dave? Dave, you there?
That's right.
All right, Dave Unger, a good friend who likes professional wrestling. I know Doug loves professional wrestling. Isn't that right, Doug?
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Doug. How are you doing?
So,
Dave, seriously, really?
Seriously.
Okay.
I tried to tell him. I said, he's got a podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
I run a podcast called The Attitude of Aggression, and I also run a website and a blog that goes by the same name. And I've been doing that for about a month now, but I've been a pro wrestling fan since I was about 12 years old. And now I'm 46, so I guess I just didn't grow up.
Yeah, a lot of people would probably agree with that. All right, David, here's the question. You ready?
Yes,
This
sir.
is it. Doug wants to know whether it's real or fake.
Well, those of us who are pro wrestling fans take great umbrage to the term fake as it's relating to professional wrestling. What I can tell you is that the outcome of the matches are predetermined, and everybody pretty admits that and acknowledges that. What happens in the ring, though, is far from fake, and those guys are taking significant physical risk, and that's part of what the allure is. If you're not a pro wrestling fan, if you can get around that whole issue of, if you're a traditional sports fan, that's probably the biggest hurdle, is looking at it and saying, well, this isn't a legitimate sporting contest, and that's obviously true. But if you look at it from a different perspective and kind of go along and say, wow, how are these guys pulling this stuff off without really killing themselves, then it takes on a little bit different sort of appearance, and the appeal kind of shifts a little bit.
But Dave, do they actually get angry at each other? I mean, with raw emotion?
I think sometimes, on occasion, they do. Most of these guys are pretty much, they're professionals, and they understand they're telling a story, and it's like any sort of action movie. They're telling a story in the ring, and they're relying on, if you're talking about the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, the really big organization, then they're relying on their writers to come up with compelling story lines and story arcs that they act out in the ring. Do emotions boil over? Sure, sometimes they have to. I mean, if somebody does a move that the other guy wasn't expecting, and he's like, hey, what was that all about? Yeah, I mean, I imagine things can boil over, but the instances of that happening are probably few and far between, not as great as one might expect.
So what you're saying, though, it is acting.
It is acting. It is acting of the most physical nature. And, if you watched, they had WrestleMania 31 recently, and the main event there was Brock Lesnar. And most people know Brock. A lot of people know Brock from his time in UFC, and he was the World Heavyweight Champion. And this guy is a legitimate monster. Whether you want to put him in pro wrestling or MMA, he's not somebody that you would want to you'd want to pick a fight with. And he went up against another guy by the name of Roman Reigns, who not as big as Brock, but the match was incredibly physical. And if you're watching that, and this is when the storytelling is at its best, if you're watching that and you're saying, wow, these guys are really laying into each other. And most of us who watch this kind of thought that they went into that match with the understanding that they went to each other before, and it said, look, let's beat the hell out of each other and not get too mad at each other and just put on a really good show for the fans. And they really did. And it's a match that if you're not a wrestling fan, watch it and then say, wow, that looks pretty legitimate.
Dave, that was going to be my question. Way back when I used to be a wrestling fan, and then I kind of grew out of it, unlike you, I guess. No offense. But I actually also kind of worked some of these things when I was a security guard at the old Capitol Center in D.C.
Yeah.
My question for you is, if you want to get back into it, some people Doug may want to start getting back into it. What's the best way? There's so many different places out there that do this type of stuff, right? There's the UFC, or they change all these alphabet soups. It's like boxing almost.
Yeah, it's really streamlined a lot now. ever since WWE kind of took over and bought out was World Championship Wrestling in 2001. They're really by far and away, they're like the top of the mountain. And you've got a lot of other promotions underneath them that are all good, but not as widespread. You've got stuff like Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. If I would say for a new fan, if they wanted to get involved, then get a subscription to the WWE Network, and you can stream that on any device. You can stream it on your iPad, your iPhone, computer, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, whatever. It costs $9.99 a month. It gives people access to the entire library of
there you go.
WWE, WCW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. I mean, you can go back to 1983 and go forward, and that's one of the things I'm doing on the website is I'm kind of going back and chronologically trying to kind of encapsulate the history of pro wrestling.
Oh, wow.
And that's going to take forever.
I'm sure.
Hey, I've done like 2 entries so far, and but that'd be the best way for somebody to kind of be able to keep up to date with what's current and look at what's going on in the past.
All right. Hey, Dave, we're up against break. Can you stick around for a little bit?
Yeah, sure thing.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, we're talking to Dave Unger about all things professional wrestling and other sports, apparently. On the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We'll be right back.
We're back, everybody, in the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM-1220 KHTS. We're talking to Mr. Dave Unger regarding professional wrestling. One more question on wrestling, Dave. There was a gentleman that lived in Santa Clarita for many years, and he was known as Sting. Are you familiar with him?
Oh, gosh, yes. Otherwise known as Steve Borden.
Yep, you got it.
Oh, big guy.
Yeah, Sting just appeared at WrestleMania for the first time ever in Santa Clara at WrestleMania 31. So that was a huge moment in his career and a huge moment for fans like me.
Why wouldn't he have been there before?
Well, you probably have to ask Steve himself to get the full details on it. But I think there was a lot of concern that he had about whether Vince McMahon and WWE would protect his legacy. I know he didn't exactly agree with some of the direction the company was going. I think Sting's a pretty big born-again Christian.
Yes, he is. He is.
Yeah.
And he had some issues with the way that product was presented, and that's understandable during the boom period of wrestling, during the Attitude Era. There was a lot of stuff that we would look at nowadays and say, that's no big deal, but in 1997 or 1998, completely different stories. So I think part of it was that, and I don't know what I think he's 56 now, and then I think Sting probably just said it's now or never. The guy was in tremendous shape for the match he had at WrestleMania.
Wow.
I'm hoping he has at least one more in him.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. All right, hey, Dave, real quick, switching to other sports, because see what I did there? I didn't say real sports. I said other sports.
that was a very smooth segue.
That was a smooth segue. Let's talk hockey.
Yeah.
You amongst other wonderful things that you do, you're a big hockey fan too, right?
I'm a huge hockey fan, and like John, a long-suffering Caps fan, and I think we're going to suffer some more this season.
Yeah, I think we'll be playing golf in a couple weeks.
Okay, well, I don't know anything about it, so who's going to be in the finals? Should we just jump to there?
Wow, we just started the first round.
We're out of town.
All right.
Yeah, forget the first round. Let's just go right to the end. I think in hockey, it's usually you got to ride the hot goaltender, and a hot goalie can just completely wipe out the offense of another team. And as John knows, because we're long-suffering Caps fans, it's awfully hard to bet against the New York Rangers and Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah.
I think the only goalie who really matches him is Carey Price in Montreal, and Montreal's going to have their hands full with Ottawa, although they did take Game 1.
Right.
So, I look at the Rangers and the Canadiens. The Blackhawks got healthy at just the right time, and they're always dangerous. But they've got some goaltending issues, and I know they pulled. I guess was it Corey Crawford? He got pulled. He got pulled the other night, and his backup came in and saved the day for him. So that'll be interesting to see how they do it. I mean, the Ducks are good, but can a Bruce Boudreau team really do anything long term? And I'm sure John would agree. We have our doubts about that.
You're right. All right, NBA Finals. Who you got? Real quick. We're writing these down, by the way. You know that, right?
What's that?
We're writing these down, by the way.
Oh, do it. I think the San Antonio Spurs are going to repeat.
Even though they got to play the Clippers in the first round?
Huh?
They're playing the Clippers in the first round. That should be a good series.
It'll it'll be a bloody series, and whoever survives that is gonna be the walking wounded. But I like the Spurs' experience. They've been playing tremendous the last couple of months. Golden State's going to be really tough to get rid of. I don't know if they've got the experience to beat a seasoned team like the Spurs when it really counts.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't think anybody out from the Eastern Conference has a chance. I don't care how good the Cavs are with LeBron. I don't see them beating anybody from the West.
So you don't think Atlanta can do it?
I've got Atlanta getting to the finals, but I don't think they can really pose a serious challenge to whoever comes out of the West.
All right, Dave, 10 seconds real quick. What's your podcast again?
It's the Attitude of Aggression Wrestling Podcast. You can find it on iTunes or on Stitcher.
All right, thanks, Doug. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody. Dave Zunger. All right, you're listening to Gazette Radio Hour on Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS. We'll be right back.